here once again from craftingchaos.co.uk. Before I get to what I'm going to show in this video, I just wanted to take the time to thank everyone that's watched the videos or subscribed or left a comment on it. Any feedback that I get at all really means the world to me. So to have over 200 views on my first video, that just blew me away. So thank you very much, and I hope that you enjoy this one, and I have loads of good stuff to come in the future, so I hope that you'll keep watching. So today I'm going to show a technique that has really made my life much easier when it comes to matting and layering. I know it's something that all of us love to do, because it does create such a lovely effect on our cards, but it's something that it can be difficult, and if you end up with your mat and layering slightly off, if you're anything like me, it will bug the life out of you, and every time you look at the card you'll think, oh, just another millimetre there. So I'm going to show you what I found that makes my life a bit easier. It can be used for more than matting and layering. I'm also going to show that how it can come in handy if you've got a stamping platform. So as you can see, I have a caterpillar. You don't have to use a caterpillar for this technique, it just happens to be the one that I've got. I must say I do recommend it. Out of all of the cutting guillotines and trimmers and stuff that's out there, I've tried a lot, and this is the one that has been the best for me. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the best for you, so you know, don't feel you've got to go out and buy a new cutter. So what I've done is created my own templates out of template plastic. So these are actually for quilting. This is the first ones that I bought. And I've just got some more from Amazon, which that only had 2 sheets in. And this one has 4 that have the grid on and 2 that are plain, which means that I can play around and see if I can find more techniques using them. So they come in really handy. I'm going to show you how they work first, before I show you how I actually create them. And I'm going to create an 8x8 one, because at the moment I've got an A5 and a 6x6. So as you can see, it's a gridded template. It's really sturdy, and I've measured where the centre is so that it could, that's what my hair's there, so that comes in easy for some of the techniques that I'm going to show you. So to mat and layer, there's a couple of different ways you can do it. The first one I'm going to show you. Now normally I wouldn't put silver and gold together, it's just the pieces that I happened to have. This is the A5 plastic template, and this is a little bit bigger than that. Now let's say that I'm wanting this to go on an A5 card blank, but I want a little bit of the card blank to show. So what I need to do is cut a bit of the silver off, so that when I mount this onto an A5 card blank, it'll show a little bit of the outside rim of the card blank. It'll make sense as I do it. So I've got my Ultimate Pro. As I've said before, this is one of my favourite crafting products. It saves me a fortune because now I don't have to buy ready-made cards. So just put it up against the edge and score on half fold A4, and then fold it and put it up towards the handle. And I have a perfectly scored piece of card. So as I say, this is A5. As you can see, the template is exactly the same size. So I want a bit of this on show. So what I'm going to do is put my template up against my silver cardstock, and I'm going to butt both of them against the edge of my cutter. I can see that there's one line there, and I want it to come in one square, which means that it will be just the right size. And then just slide that out of the way, and then put it back up against. And this time I'm going to need to take one square off the bottom. And now that is the perfect size of matte layer for that card. But I'm also going to want a piece of gold on top. So this one is the same size as what the silver was off the last one, but I want it to be smaller because I want it to be a matte layer. So again, I'll line it up with my piece of template sheet. The one thing you do have to make sure of is that it's not just the plastic butted against the bottom. It can be easy to have your card a bit skewy. Can you see that? Actually, I'm going to turn my light off because I think you can see better with it off. And the same off the top. And now that matte layers perfectly, and it also matte layers perfectly onto that. So you can see there is no, it's not out anywhere, it's perfect measurements. So that is how this works. So then I'm going to show you another way of doing it. So sometimes you've got a topper and you want to matte and lay that. So this is a stamp by Prima that I've coloured in. I've modelled it on my niece because she's got bright red hair. And I'm going to actually tape this one down because you don't always want a flat piece of card, and this is just to show that this technique also works when you've matte and layered something with double-sided foam tape. And sometimes I find that it doesn't matter if I have things cut the perfect size like this. When you go sticking it down, you can still end up with it just a touch out. You can end up with it on the wonk, or someone knocks it and it goes off. Whereas this way, it is set straight away. And because I've used foam tape, I always like to add a little bit of tacky glue on the top. The reason for that is that it does give me a little bit of wiggle time, that if I get distracted or sneeze or something and I drop it and half of it's off the page, it means that I can adjust it. So I'm just going to stick this like that. Right, so now, just so that it's not as big for when I'm doing this, I'm just going to cut a bit off. So now I've got my picture matte and layered, and I've got my sentiment sheet. Now this picture that I've got on is two of the squares in, well, two in a little bit, going round. So I know that I can take off one block of each side, if that makes any sense. Sometimes it's easier just to see things being done rather than me trying to come up with the words. So line it up, that's it. So I'm taking one of those blocks off on each side. You can do a half. It's a little bit more difficult to get it consistent if you're doing half a block, because of the fact that you might end up being a millimetre out, just because of the way things work. The good thing with the caterpillar is that even if you only need to take a small amount off like that, it does do it. So now you can see that it has the perfect size all the way around. Normally to do that I would get out my perfect layers tool and a craft knife. So you can see that on here that has just a nice border on it, but if you're wanting a little bit more, stick it down again. So again, I'm just using some tape books. Now this is just a 1mm tape. I'm using what I've got left. I don't particularly like this tape. The one that I'm using most of the time at the moment is, surprise surprise, a Crafter's Companion one. They do a shaker tape set at their store, and that's a really good tape. So that is the one that I'm using most of the time. Right, so I've got that one stuck down, and this time I'm going to want to do half a square. So as I said, it's a little bit more difficult with half a square and you might end up a smidgen out. And there again you have a perfect matte laid piece of card. So you can see it's all, so as it see, it's quick. It's much quicker than most of the other ways that I've seen. I'll just show you what that looks like on a card blank. So see how it's all perfectly done, and it just really adds something to the card, just knowing that that's done perfect. Only thing is I've left a little bit of 3D foam tape that I should have shortened a little bit. But yeah, so that is your perfect matte and laid card blank, and that is my niece's birthday card done. And you can also use it on your stamping mat. So I do have my Tim Holtz stamp platform here. So yeah, I've got a Tim Holtz stamp platform. I only recently got this. I did have the Misty, well, I do still, but I like this one because I can do 8x8 cards, which is my favourite card size. So with this, I've got a piece of card here, and obviously you would line it up. But then how do you know if you want something in the centre on this? Yes, it's got markings on it, but there's nothing there to tell you about A5 cards. There's nothing to say, right, this is A5 and that's the centre of A5. Whereas with this, because I've marked the centre on it, I can see exactly where the placement of that is. Make sure that's in the corner. By putting it in the corner, it just makes sure that you've got it on a right angle, because if it's not, then it doesn't matter how much you position your stamps, they're not going to end up right. So the beginning part, the centre point of this is sort of like the card, this CA and then there's the NT. So the center point is like there. So you want to line that up so that that is in on that line, on both lines. And then I've got a frame to go around it. So I said, this is a stamp set by John Lockwood. And I just loved the sentiment, so I had to get it. Now, it's a little bit more difficult with the frame to get it lined up perfectly because it's different thicknesses throughout. But as long as you've got the sentiment done straight, then you shouldn't have an issue with it looking wonky. Right, so then I'm just gonna, as you can see, it's picked up my template, so I just peel my template off. If you've already got ink on your stamp, if you're like multi-stamping, doesn't matter if you get any ink on your template because it is plastic, so it will just come right off. You can see it is perfectly positioned. So if I put that on a card blank and had decoration around it, it would be perfectly positioned. So there's your card blank, maybe slightly. So it is perfectly centered, both in the sides and on the top. So that is the template sheets. So they do come in really handy, and there is loads of other things you can do. That's the main ones that I've came across. I'm just going to clean my stamp. They're the ones that I use all the time, but it is so, once you get your head around the measurement, it's so easy. I can cut 3 or 4 layers for the same project in like a minute, because you know just where the markings are, and you can do it without thinking. So the light on the cutter pillar does help a little bit, but as I say, it will work with any cutting machine, and it just makes life a little bit easier, because on the cutter pillar here there is, I don't know if you can see, there is, I think it's 2.5 centimeters or something, where it has no markings on. So you can't figure out your matting and your layering using this. So it for me, it is a really useful tip. So as I showed at the beginning of the video, there's 2 different kinds. It is just quilter's template, so you'll not get it in the card making part. It's in the sewing part, and it comes in A4 sheets. So as you've seen, I've got an 8x8 and an A5 one. Let me see, you get 4 of the gridded one and 2 of the plain. So expect a video soon when I find out what I can do with these. I've already tried a couple of things, which unfortunately didn't work, but that's how you learn. So I've got a 6x6 and an A5. So I'm gonna do an 8x8 base. So 8x8 is my favourite size of card base to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to trim off all the edges, just because it makes it easier for me to figure out the measurements when it comes to it. And as you can see, it cuts just dead easy. I've done this on, before I got my cutter pillar, I cut these on a guillotine. So the only thing is, it is better because it's a hard surface. With the cutter pillar, always pull your guard away and pull it back down. That way it stops any movement in the plastic. So I've trimmed it down so it's got those edges cut off. So now I'm just going to trim it down to the 8x8 size. Now the card blanks that I have that are 8x8 are actually slightly larger than 8x8. And I know that some by Craft UK are actually slightly smaller. But if you stick to the 8x8 measurement, once you know what size your card blanks actually are, you can figure out how to make allowances for that. So if you have it cut in 8x8, which that happens to already be, then you know how you're gonna stand with it. So there is my 8x8 template sheet. So what I've got now is a ruler that is a centering ruler, which does what it says on the tin. It helps you find where the center is and things. You'd never guess that, would you? So I'm going to figure out where the center is on here. So it needs to be 4 inches. So now I'm going to put down a piece of paper. There. And then I need to work out 4 across. So now I know that that middle point is there. So I've got a Spectrum Noir alcohol pen in black, and I'm just going to mark that as X marks the spot, and then just use my ruler. I find it easier to do both directions in one go rather than that underneath, just so I don't colour in my caterpillar. It might bleed a little bit, but it doesn't matter. And then my ruler will just wipe clean. Now if you don't have a Spectrum Noir alcohol pen, a Sharpie will do it. Really any permanent sort of pen, and it just wipes off the ruler. So that is how I make my template. So I'm just going to write 8x8 on that, and then I know that when I need to make an 8x8 card, all the stuff that I've just shown you I can do with that. So there's my 6x6. You can even cross the crosses and then you can see how perfectly they all are. So it means you could put a 6x6 card within an 8x8. It just opens up a whole world. So I hope that you find this really useful. If you find anything else that you can use these template sheets for, feel free to let me know. I hope that it makes your matting and layering and your stamp positioning much quicker, as it has done for me. Please subscribe if you haven't already. As I've said, all products are listed in the description down below. Actually, I'll turn the camera so you can actually see me again. All the products are listed in the description down below, and links as to where you can get them from. I hope, as I said, that you've enjoyed it and that you'll give it a go yourself. They cost a couple of quid and they end up making a tool that I'm using time and time and time again. So I hope they're as useful for you. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe. Bye.